Hi everybody, what is going on? Welcome to VR365. It is Sunday, it is June 28th. It's a little bit after noon. It is straight up high noon here in California. I'm starting a little bit late, but you know what? I got a good reason. Gaming science teacher, unfortunately, we are having those weird issues that you have with Skype changing our resolution, and so I might have to play with this a little bit throughout our show. But we're going to try to do the best that we can. And we've got a number of different topics to talk about. We're going to be talking about the Oculus Go cancelization. We're going to talk about Ready at Dawn. We're going to talk about Beat Saber leaving arcades. We're going to talk about Until You Fall, which is coming to PlayStation VR and Oculus Quest. So, just a lot of little things that are going on in the VR gaming world. And I thought, let's see, where should we start out? How about I start out with a topic that I didn't even mention whatsoever at all? So this one is going to catch gaming science teacher completely off guard, and which we like. Oh, wait, before we do that, though, gaming science teacher on the screen right now, this is, what is it called? It's Alex Sci-Fi World or something. It's made in Quill. I've talked about this before, but I think you mentioned recently that you can view this on an Oculus Quest.
Yes, it was a while back that I saw this pop up onto um, the viewer, as you can't use Quill on the Quest, but there is a viewer that's available for the Quest, and Alex's Sci-Fi World is available in there. So I've been in here and checked it out, and it is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's these things people might not realize how good VR is for just little quirky things like this. When I look at this, it reminds me of Cool World, like that terrible Brad Pitt movie that was back in the early 90s where he's in like some weird cartoon movie. I don't know, it just has a weird flavor to it, but like the sounds are so atmospheric in this like little cartoon place, and it's like a living breathing painting that is slightly moving, and you hear sounds, and just gorgeous. I love it, and I wish there was some more of this type of stuff. And like with VRGameRankings.com, like my original dream when I started that is I wanted to really report on games but also experiences, like celebrate the stuff that we have now and then hype up the stuff that's coming in the future. And like if like this is the type of stuff I would love to be able to have time to celebrate this stuff more and try to highlight this stuff more and try to I haven't done anything with experiences on VR game rankings in like hell of years. It's so outdated, but this is the kind of stuff that really inspires me to like want to get back into that.
Yeah, speaking of experiences, did you check out the film festival that everyone was talking about? I wasn't able to check it out because it's in the Museum of Other Realities, which is PC VR based. So not something available on Quest, but there was a bit of chatter and buzz going on about that film festival in VR.
Yeah, well, I heard about that, and but no, I have not checked that out. I have not checked that out. But Museum of Other Realities, I believe it's available on Viveport, like Viveport Infinity, which I continue to say, and I've continued to say this. It's one of the best values in VR gaming, like by a million miles. It's just Viveport Infinity is such a great value if you got it when they had that amazing deal that they had temporarily. Okay, so the first story of the day, I've got Xbox on the screen. I've got Phil Spencer. And you know that whenever that happens, it's of course somebody mentions we ought to just flip the switch, right? And this story just will not die, and people will not give up on Xbox and VR. So, in the news recently, you had Microsoft shut down Mixer, which, how crazy is that? And also, gaming science teacher, when you think of the people that got signed to these Mixer deals that probably were supposed to last for like 10 years or something, right? They got paid giant sums of money, and then Microsoft, they're in their boardroom and they're like, F it, shut it all down, cancel it. Well, guess what? Those people, I don't think they have to refund. Like, I don't think Ninja, that one dude, is like giving back Microsoft like $50 million. I think that's staying in his bank account, and he basically worked for them for like, what, a year and a half or something? How freaking crazy is that?
Yeah, I heard about that. I saw I saw Facebook Gaming post something on Twitter, talking about um, Mixer and talking about, people coming over to Facebook Gaming. Um, and I wasn't sure what was going on. And then I saw Upload reported on it and took a look and, realized that Mixer is just canceled, just done, and that they're going to partner with Facebook Gaming. And yeah, I think Ninja was probably maybe the most prominent person that they poached from Twitch. And yeah, I mean, you sign these big contracts with them, and then you're like, just to heck with it, it's all done. So that's interesting.
How lucky though. How lucky for them to get these giant stacks of money, and then all of a sudden they're a free agent again. And now they could possibly have Twitch or YouTube. Like, I don't like, YouTube could be doing behind the scene deals that we don't know about. And I think this is something that could happen in the future, because you look at somebody like Joe Rogan, right? Joe Rogan is leaving for Spotify. And when he leaves for Spotify, like that hurts YouTube in a tiny little way. I mean, the guy would, like, 5, 7, 8, 9 million people would watch almost every single one of those episodes of Joe Rogan on YouTube. And they lose that. So at some point, I think YouTube might even have to consider like trying to lock some people down. And so all these little free agents. But anyway, why are we talking about this? In the VR world, why does this matter? Because here's why it matters. There's people around the intronets that somehow believe, because Microsoft said, oh, you know what? We're shutting down Mixer, but we signed a deal with Facebook Gaming. But there's another company there. It's not just Facebook Gaming. There's like 2 of them, right? And they basically said, look, we worked out this special deal where you can easily transfer over to Facebook Gaming, or you can transfer over to the other option, whatever the other one was. And just to make it nice and smooth, that's just to make it an easier transition for shutting down Mixer. I don't understand why people think this would relate to VR in any way, shape, or form. Do you have any?
Yeah. Um, I don't know what Microsoft is thinking. They don't seem to make decisions um, that we on our end without any of their insider knowledge can put together to make any kind of sense.
Yeah, but I mean, but like the people that are jumping to these conclusions and like, oh my God, Microsoft signed a deal with Facebook. Microsoft Facebook. I got it. Okay, VR is coming to Xbox. Like to just instantly make that.
Yeah, that's a bit of a jump
so
to me.
I don't know. I just, because I've been harping on this for years, that Microsoft, basically what I believe is Microsoft looked at VR and they gave it serious consideration, and they decided, for whatever reason, internally, very high within Microsoft, they've decided that VR is not their bag. They've done some minimum VR stuff, but it's really been mostly the bare minimum of what they'd have to do. They've done the bare minimum, so like they have a VR option on PC, and they have people making VR headsets that are they're worked out to this particular reference standard, but they've pretty much done the bare minimum that they'd have to do. And I just don't see them being interested in bringing VR to Xbox, primarily because I don't think it's probably worth all the trouble that they have to go through. People don't realize the support issues, and then having an entire library, building a library of like developers that could come in. It's not that easy, right? So the next biggest topic, the next biggest news story that we have from this past week or one of the bigger news stories, is of course Facebook has acquired the developer Ready at Dawn, developer of 1886, The Order 1886, developer of Lone Echo, developer of Echo Combat, developer of Echo Arena, developer of Echo VR developer of Echo VR on the Oculus Quest. So easily one of the better developers in the world right now in the VR gaming world, of course, is Ready at Dawn. So Gaming Science Teacher, we got you back here, and we'll just make do with whatever technical issues we come up with. But what I'm on right now is Facebook has acquired Ready at Dawn, developer of the Order 1886 back in their old flat days. They've been doing a lot of VR. My question for you on this one is this just like a natural no-brainer thing to happen when you consider that Insomniac got snatched up, and you consider that Oculus grabbed Sanzaru and they've grabbed Beat Games? It seems like this is just obvious, right? You got to do it, right?
Yeah, I think it's a really natural choice, and not terribly surprised by it. I think Ready at Dawn is a great option if someone, if Facebook is going to acquire someone, Ready at Dawn with Lone Echo 2 in the pipeline, as well as Echo VR and Echo Combat. I think it's great news. I think that it's going to be good for VR gamers, at least those with an Oculus headset, or everyone else is just going to use Revive. But I know that there are some people who are not so keen on it. They hate exclusives. I was watching the F Reality podcast guys yesterday, and they had Guy Godin on, the developer of Virtual Desktop, and he seemed negative on the news. And as a small indie developer who, he said that he would never sell out. He wants to stay independent. I can understand that. And he mentioned, you don't want to see Facebook buy half of the devs and Sony buy the other half, and then that's it. And there's no room left for indies. And so you don't want that to happen. You don't want all of the great VR developers to be acquired. But I think it's nice for Facebook to have some, really good quality VR developers in their portfolio, and hopefully they bolster them and make good things happen for us.
Yeah, I mean, you can ask the question, like, is this wonderful for consumers? Maybe not so much. But then if you're a VR enthusiast, maybe it is wonderful in the short term to have companies like this, very high quality companies that are locked down. Because the thing is, Ready at Dawn, I'm not sure how many people they have in that entire studio. Like, I don't know what their head count is. That would actually be extremely valuable information whenever we're talking about all these different developers, is to know their actual head count. Because the thing about that number is there's a lot of developers that have multiple teams. They have Team A, Team B, Team C. And there's smaller developers. All it is Team A. They got one team. That's it. Some developers might have a primary team and then a little splinter team that's making these little tiny things off on the side. But a lot of these developers, they've got multiple teams. Ready at Dawn used to make flat games. One thing that I would wonder about this, and we're not going to find out the answer to this, but you got to be curious if Ready at Dawn was like spending copious amounts of time making some big extravagant flat game with one of their side teams. I don't know if that was happening. We obviously know they're working on Lone Echo 2. They're putting the finishing touches on that, you'd imagine, and they're wrapping up with Echo VR and the Oculus Quest. What do you think about that? Do you think there's a flat game out there that they're going to try to sell off maybe to some other company, or maybe it'll be published by Facebook?
I don't know. We've never seen Facebook get into flat PC gaming. They do the mobile games, the little mobile games on Facebook, and VR through Oculus. So I don't know that I see Facebook getting into flat PC gaming or flat console gaming at all. I'm aware that fans of the Order were disappointed with this news, because now they feel like the chances of, getting a sequel to that are pretty low. Um,
I wonder if Sony, actually, that's a great question right there, because does Sony, I think Sony might have published the Order 1886. And
mhm.
the scary thing about that, although it seems like Oculus and Sony, like maybe they're almost like, let's take care of each other, man. So like maybe they could get those rights, because the Order 1886 might work as like a first person VR thing as well as possibly some future. Although they could create an entirely new IP. It's not like the Order 1886 is this like long established history of being some great franchise. So they could probably just
Right,
create
yeah.
something altogether new. But the nice thing about this developer is they obviously got chops on Quest. We've seen what they can do
Mhm.
on Quest, and maybe this bodes well actually for Lone Echo 1 being ported to the Quest. Now that they own them, they could set aside 7 or 8 people and say, hey, could you somehow look, you've got this Echo VR engine working, it's running on the Snapdragon, can you somehow have a watered down Lone Echo 1 on the Oculus Quest? That'd be pretty dope.
Yeah, that definitely crossed my mind when I saw this news. Um, I think in in any way that it ends up, it's going to be good for Quest owners, because there's a possibility, like you said, of Lone Echo 1 being ported to the Quest. And even if that doesn't happen, and Lone Echo 2 has been in development for a while now. Like you said, they're probably putting the finishing touches on it. So that probably wasn't being developed with the Quest in mind. But even if those don't, are just PC VR only, uh, whenever it is that they go onto their next VR title, Facebook is going to ask them to target Quest, and so whatever it is that Ready at Dawn does next, we can probably expect it on the Quest.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, so as a gamer, as a VR gamer, my hope is great. Maybe there's another internal team at Ready at Dawn that is now going to go 100% on VR. So they're all going to be working on VR, and they're working on, they understand the Quest, they understand PC. These guys, like the Order 1886 was a freaking graphical showpiece. That's what it was all about. And like I'm looking at this trailer right now, and I do think they could make a VR game with this, but it is going to come down to the rights and all of that. But yeah, it's just it's all good here. I don't think there's. I mean, the question of does Oculus end up with too much power? If they got. I mean, look at what
Mhm.
they got. They got Sanzaru Games, developers of Asgard's Wrath, probably the biggest triple-ish A outside of Half-Life Alyx, and but I mean it's such a behemoth, like even considering Half-Life Alyx, that game is still a behemoth. And then you got Beat Games, which is the biggest VR game. I mean, you got Beat Saber, the biggest VR game there is, and they're in the news. And actually, why don't we go ahead and transition into that, since Beat Saber is absolutely in the news. And this is an interesting situation, because you know what? This is going to possibly bring a little bit of light and a little bit of sunshine towards a topic that is kind of swept under the rug, and that is Oculus and Facebook and playing their games or using their hardware in an official capacity at like location based entertainment centers or VR arcades or whatever. Because the way I understand this, no one's doing it legally. Like if they're doing it now, there's people that are using Oculus Quest for certain business related things where they've got like a side deal, and they're loading that, they're not running it on the Oculus software, and they're using Oculus Quest headsets. That's kind of a different issue. But what I'm talking about is if you go to a regular VR arcade, like if you go to any VR arcade and you say I want to play Lone Echo, if they put you into Lone Echo, I believe they are breaking the law. I believe that they're doing something that is not actually legally sanctioned by Oculus. And it's just been this weird thing that has gone on for years. And the original thing that I always heard about this, I tried to find out about this because I was actually very interested in this. At one point, I was super interested in a mobile VR arcade. and part of it was going to feature Oculus Quest, and I wanted to license the usage of an Oculus Quest. And I was this is like even before the Quest came out, I was checking in on this, and I got a hold of somebody at Oculus. Finally, I got an email from them, and this person at Oculus at that particular time, they said, wait for Oculus Connect 6 or whichever one it was about to be, and we're going to have a big announcement there. And they kind of insinuated that basically they were going to have their own version of what Springboard VR does, and that it was going to be like this internal Oculus thing that so VR arcades would sign a deal that would go directly with Facebook and Oculus, and it would be like a Springboard VR kind of a thing. That announcement never happened. And I think that was actually Oculus Connect 5, as the guy told me to wait for that. Well, we had 5 and we've had 6. We've had no announcements at either one. We have no announcements now. They acquire Beat Games, which of course comes with the Beat Saber license, which is what it's all about. But it's a sticky situation because Beat Games, previously Hyperbolic Magnetism, the popularity of Beat Saber tremendous. VR arcades want to use it. They want to make some money. So they came up with a licensing solution so VR arcades could have the most popular VR game in existence at the VR arcades, which makes sense. You have somebody at the front of your VR arcade in a glass enclosure playing Beat Saber, and it could draw some people into the store, right? But it's a conundrum for Oculus because they've always had these weird policies. What do you think about all this, gaming science teacher? I believe it's a conspiracy theory.
It's really hard to make sense of what's going on with this specific news that that Facebook is pulling the license for arcades to be allowed to use Beat Saber. And there's been a lot of speculation. I was reading about possibly, you know, what the reasons are, and whatever those reasons might be, it's definitely bad for the arcades because, like you said, it is the most popular, hands down, the most popular VR game. And a lot of people only know of VR because they've seen some videos of Beat Saber. And if they go to a VR arcade, that might be the game they're going to want to play. And it's great for a newcomer too. You know, it's easy to pick up. It's fun. It's not like a big, 4-hour long campaign that you play through. It's just, you can play a quick couple of songs. It's fun to watch other people play. So it's definitely bad news for the VR arcades. You mentioned that Oculus doesn't really have these solutions. A lot of VR arcades use Springboard or a similar platform, and then any kind of Oculus exclusives, they're just out of luck, or like you said, they do it anyway. They just do it illegally without actually having a license. And that's not only a problem for location-based entertainment in VR arcades, it's a problem in education too. We are planning on getting a tech lab up and running at my school, and that's something I've been really sinking my time into contributing to lately. And I'm helping out with planning the AR and VR stuff we're going to offer in that lab. And we're looking at getting Oculus Quests, but there's no official solution. I mean, we could contact Oculus and say, hey, as a school, how do we get the software? We want to show our students Anne Frank House VR. We want to show them Titans of Space. We want to, use other educational, National Geographic Explore VR. And, how do we license that for a school? They're going to say, we don't have an option for that. But there is no option. They really need to get on that for both entertainment and education. It seems that the only real option they've looked at is business. They have the Oculus for Business program, which...
But that one, the Oculus for Business, that's kind of what I meant by there's people out there that are using Quest and they have a very specific app that they're running, but it's not running on the Oculus store. It's almost like they're basically side loading the app, if you will.
Right, yeah. So most of the businesses that might be using a Quest and doing this Oculus for Business program, it's enterprise stuff where they have their own app. Like maybe they are a big company and they need to train their employees to do a certain thing. Someone is developing their own in-house app that trains them how to do whatever job they need to do. Or, whatever it is, they're making their own software. There's very few enterprise level businesses that are like, well, I want to, have, um, Moss and Apex construct on these quests for my business because that's not really a useful business application. But there are a lot of official Oculus Store apps that are great for education, and then of course when you're in the entertainment sector, then that's exactly what you want are all of the official Oculus Store apps, and they don't have a solution for that, and they need to get on it.
I have a crazy theory that I'm going to throw out there on what is going on here. Okay, so I don't know if you heard this in the news though, but the Microsoft stores, like at
Mm.
malls and stuff, like you could maybe try a HoloLens if you went to the right one, or they sometimes have like Samsung Odyssey headsets or whatever. Like some people would say, oh, if you go to a Microsoft store, you can try these different headsets. Well, in the news, in a sort of tangential sort of way, is these Microsoft stores are all closing down, right? But think of Facebook and Oculus. Like, what if they thought of a mini VR arcade type of a thing, all right, that they could have, where basically they could have their own like official version of the Void, but maybe not as Void. It would be more casual, more for people to just quickly be able to play all kinds of different Oculus games. And then they could also physically sell Quest headsets there, accessories, Rift headsets, Rift accessories, maybe even possibly VR sanctioned PCs that are like, yeah, this meets the standard of for the Rift. And I mean, I know it's kind of out there, but I don't know. I kind of feel like Oculus might think, maybe we could have our own kind of a store for VR, an entertainment center. Like you think of movie theaters, you think of laser tag facilities, bowling alleys. We have them in every city, right? Well, eventually, as we get further off into the future, there's probably going to be a futuristic kind of a thing that fits in, miniature golf, these kinds of centers, right? Why wouldn't you think that maybe a VR arcade type of a thing? You could see it in a lot of cities. It could be the size of, remember the old Blockbuster stores that were pretty big? It could be maybe a little bit bigger than that. It doesn't have to be like a big gigantic Void kind of a thing. Is that crazy of me thinking of something like this?
I don't think it's crazy. I think, especially from the consumer perspective, it would be really cool, right? Because all of us enthusiasts, we want it to be easier for our friends and family to get into VR. So, um, we want it to be easy to, call up your cousin in the next town over and say, hey, go to your local Oculus Center and you can try it out. And they'll give you some demos and it'll be really cool. You can try it. And then while you're there, once have realized how much you like it, how cool you think it is, you can buy it right there and take it home. Um, and especially for the very unique factor of VR that you don't understand how cool it is until you've tried it. You can never convey to someone in words or in flat video exactly what it's like. You have to experience it to understand what it's like. So in that sense, it would be really cool. But I don't think it would be worth it at this point where we're at in the industry for Facebook to try and do something like that. I know that in the beginning, with Oculus, they had Oculus representatives in Best Buy stores. And even then, that removes so much of the overhead. They're not operating the store. The only overhead they have is just paying for the one representative to be in that Best Buy store during certain hours of the week. And you would think that, okay, having that person there, they can do demos, and then, they can sell them the physical product right there while they're in the store. You would think that that would be really helpful, and it just ended up not being worth it for them at all. It was way too much cost for them to provide those staff members, and they shut that whole program down, and now you can't get demos in Best Buys anymore because they pulled all those people. So I don't think the overhead would be worth it for them to invest in all those stores.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it really that's why all the Microsoft stores have closed down. I mean, all you have to do
Yep.
is look at that, and you can understand why this is not normally a good idea. But I do think eventually, like, think of movie theaters. Like, I kind of think movie theaters are slowly but surely kind of dying, and part of
Mm.
it might be the whole the situation we got going on, right? And so that makes it very complicated for movie theaters, and then people just get used to being at home, and they just get used to getting their movies. Like, movies are now like releasing the same day at home. You can just pay more for them and you get movies. So it almost seems like maybe movie theaters as a thing is going to kind of get less and less popular, and maybe there could be some kind of opening for some type of place that people can go to, some kind of center that would be similar. There's other companies besides the Void that are looking at this. I forget the different ones, but I know there's a couple of big ones that have like it's, I don't know if it's like Universal or like MGM. There's like somebody that, the one that has the Terminator, they have like these different Terminator things in VR. I forget which one that's called, but basically there's other companies that are trying to do the Void thing. And for Oculus, if they were going to do something like that, one of the advantages is they're using all their own equipment, so they don't got to pay any kind of licensing for any of that. They've got their own entire catalog of games that they can use. They don't have to pay any kind of licensing for that. It also works as a commercial for them. It also works as a demo place for them to kind of get the word out. And then some of their experiences like Lone Echo, Asgard's Wrath, some of these experiences could be designed in the future. If they were to do this, the developer would actually be like, okay, we want you working on 3 versions of this game. You're working on the Quest version. That's the most important one. You're working on the Rift version. And then you're also going to work on our special arcade version, which is going to add extra interactivity and some physical structures to like ground you into the, maybe some little Void stuff going on, some extra razzmatazz. That could be super interesting. I don't know. It's pretty far-fetched, but I guess it's something we could possibly consider. But
let me try and turn that around on you, Anthony, and see what you think of this.
Okay.
Rather than experiences that are offered somewhere that you go to, somewhere that people want an experience, they want to go somewhere, and you have things that are like the Void or similar. What about turning that around and having experiences that people can do, but they can do them from home, like that live VR escape room that you do from home, the Adventure Labs, and their first offering is Dr. Crumb's School for Disobedient Pets, where each individual person, up to 4 people, is in their own home. You can be in all separate locations anywhere in the world. You all put on your headsets and you do this live VR escape room facilitated by a live actor.
I haven't heard about that. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, it was the first I'd ever heard of it. It had never crossed my mind to have a live facilitated experience, remotely, until I heard about it. And I actually did the experience just over a week ago, I think. It was really interesting, and so I signed up for a slot. It's $100 for a session with up to 4 people. So if you split that cost, it would be $25 a person. But they have a half off code. I think that half off code is still good. So I paid $50, and I was planning to have my cousin and my mom come with me, and so there would just be 3 of us, and it was really interesting. Unfortunately, my mom had trouble with the controls because I was at home. My mom was at home. My cousin was in her own home, and my mom just really struggled with the controllers. And she was trying to teleport. Like, you go in and you teleport up to this keypad to punch in a unique 3-digit code to go into your session. And she was having trouble figuring out how to teleport just because she was having trouble with the thumbsticks. And unfortunately, I was not able to troubleshoot that with her over the phone. And it was our time to start our session. And she just backed out of the session. She said, "You have fun with your cousin. I'm just gonna, maybe I can do it with you guys next time." So it was a little bit disappointing that she had trouble with it and wasn't able to participate with us. But my cousin and I had a good time. The live actor was great. It was fun. And I think it's a really interesting path for some companies to take to do something that's an experience where you just do it from home.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely could see that happening as well. I'm trying to fix your window up here quick. Um, yeah, there's all kinds of different possibilities in turn. Like what you're talking about there, it almost reminds me of the Under Presents. You know how they have like a
Mhm.
live actor that like joins in every once in a while randomly. You know, but this sounds almost like, well, you have somebody that automatically is going to be there for sure. Yeah, it's an interesting idea. It's an interesting concept. I still think you want to have I think we got to have physical centers though that people go to where they can see the dream of VR. They can be given
Mhm.
a taste of what VR is at a higher level, and then they can imagine the possibilities. And then it's like, okay, yeah, we don't exactly have that right now, but you know, on your way out, we have this thing called the Oculus Quest, and it's pretty goddamn good. You know, it's not exactly like you're going to be filling physical objects and heat and all this stuff like we're doing at our nice entertainment center. But, you know, you can take the Oculus Quest home with you. So we'll have to see how that works out. But you know what? Let's go to our next big story of the week. And this is an interesting story from a couple of different angles. So the Oculus Go, we hardly knew ye. It's already gone. It's already been basically discontinued. The Oculus Go apparently is no more. And I was mildly surprised by this because I felt like the Oculus Go was on a trajectory to hit $99. And I thought, you know, it might be good if we had a $99 device. Somebody can go to a Walgreens, you know, somebody could go to a Rite Aid. If you have something that's $99, like I don't know if they would have something that's $200 at a Rite Aid or a Walgreens, but I know I've been to places like that and they have those little like Nintendo or like a Sega Genesis console that has like 68 games, or you know, they'll have things like that. And so if you could get down to $99 and have a low cost VR headset that's actually halfway freaking decent, it's not a bad idea. But then you go to the opposite side of the coin, and the opposite side of the coin says, do you really want to mass manufacture something like this and give people this kind of half-assed impression of where VR is? Because basically Oculus has basically said with this, they don't believe in having 3DOF headsets anymore, and it's a conundrum. Like what do you do here, gaming science teacher? They've obviously said we don't want to poison the well, F it, we're out. But the other side says no, maybe have a little $99 thing that goes mainstream.
Yeah, it's a tough place to be in. There's pros and cons to everything. I'll say I wasn't surprised by this because I saw it coming. Uh, Going back to the tech lab at my school, we were looking initially at getting a mix of Goes and Quests. And when we were looking at getting a hold of those Goes, some retailers that I talked to were like, "Well, it's discontinued. Not necessarily like Oculus discontinued it, but that retailer was not going to carry it anymore." I'm like, well, I don't see a future for that product if Best Buy is not going to stock it anymore. Um, so I saw it coming from a few weeks or months back. Um, as far as whether it's good or bad, it's definitely a mixed bag because, like you said, if you can bring the price down even more, lots more people can get into VR. It's um, you know a very light, comfortable, portable headset. The image quality is actually really nice, um, but it's only 3 DOF. So when they have the ability to do standalone 6 DOF, um, does it hurt VR to have people, using a VR headset that isn't capable of the full positional tracking and everything that VR can offer? And I think what has to have played into their decision to say, okay, we're gonna end Go and we're going to forsake those benefits of something that's low cost and light and comfortable and small and portable. I think what had to have factored into that decision is what they're planning in the future. We've all heard about this Quest 2.0, or is it a Quest 1.5, Quest S, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is that they have in the works. I would imagine they have to factor in that we've heard the rumors that it's supposedly going to be smaller and lighter. And that was one of the big advantages of the Go. It's not really front heavy like the Quest, and it's smaller, a little bit more portable. It's much more comfortable to wear. And I think they also have to think about price, because that Go was the really low entry price point. So whether they're going to drop the original Quest in price so that people can do entry with that, or whether they're going to look to, I don't know, maybe price this Quest S really aggressively. Maybe they're going to come in with a really low price point for it and say, look, this is it. You can have your cake and eat it too. It's small, lightweight, comfortable, cheap, and it does 6DoF, and it does hand tracking, it does everything, and they are going to hope that it's just going to sell like hotcakes. So I think whatever they have in the works had to factor into the decision to make up for what they're losing with the Go.
Yeah, well, this creates a void in the marketplace when you're talking about this low-cost alternative, because to get an Oculus Quest, when you start talking about cost of something, there's these different levels. There's these different cutoff. Sorry, my throat is hurting me a little bit here. But there's these different levels. There's these different cutoff points. You got like $99 is this huge psychological thing. $199 is kind of a psychological thing. Then you go over that, and when it goes above $100 or it goes above $199, people just like, it's a different place in their mind. Like, oh, that's not just kind of like something I just buy randomly. Now I'm like planning for it or whatever. And then you get into the actual price of the Quests that we have right now, $399 and $499, right? For the two different options. That isn't like, people like, oh yeah, just buy an Oculus Quest, man, $399, no big deal. You get into tax and everything, and you might buy a bag for it, or you get like a comfort adapter or some kind of extra little doodad for it. Your price is spiking up pretty considerably. It's not just a willy-nilly kind of a decision. So it's kind of nice to have something that comes in at $250 or $199, kind of a starter, kind of a starter kit. And with this disappearing, there is this void. Now, you bring up the Quest 1.5, the Del Mar, the 2.0, whatever it's going to actually be. We kind of believe that this upcoming spring of 2021, the Great Recession, but this upcoming spring, we might get a new Oculus Quest of some type. I never considered it that, oh, this could be their like super low cost Quest, that somehow they squeeze in a low cost Quest. I don't know. I would believe that if they were to go down this road, I think the Quest itself, the current Quest that we have now, I don't think they keep that on and like lower its price and then have like a higher end Quest. Like, I think maybe what they do is like the current Quest, the model that we have now, is the DS Fat. You never see this thing again. It freaking disappears into the mist. We're going to get the DS Lite, and then we're going to get the DSi. So I think what we could see is, I think Oculus is not going to give up on the idea of having a mass market headset that maybe doesn't need to be very gaming capable, but it could be very experience capable and very 360 and 180 video and very Zoom and very VR chat and that, you know what I mean? Like, it could be capable for that stuff, not really need like super high-end gaming processors and things like that, so they can keep the price down low, but they still go 6DoF, so you don't get the weirdness of like, oh, I can't move back and forward, all of that. And so I think maybe we'll have two new headsets coming, because I mean, they probably are going to need one now to replace the lack of having a Go. What do you think?
That's a possibility. Another possibility that I want to say I've heard you talk about, and if not you, others, is having this, Quest S, let's call it, and maybe it comes in at $399 and it just replaces the original Quest. And we know Go is done. Like you said, the original Quest will probably go away, and Rift S might even go away soon. and they just have one product. They want to keep it nice and streamlined. But maybe there's the option to buy it without the controllers. So you have two price points, and they can advertise that really nice, low, attractive looking price point that doesn't include the controllers, especially if they're improving hand tracking and things like that. And you don't need controllers for a lot of the experiential things, and 360 video and hand tracking can step in and suffice there. Or if you want to, you can go to that $399 price point that does include both controllers.
Yeah, I do see a future. Like we've talked about some other headsets, right? Like what was that one headset? It was like the Movo or whatever. Remember the orange one that we talked about not too long ago? Let me see if I have one of the little videos for that. Yeah, okay, this one here. I do believe so there's this new headset. I believe this is made by like the former founder of HTC. I forget what the name of their company is. It starts with an X or something like that, and it's like the Movo, right? XR or something. And this ships with, I think it has like a little remote kind of a thing for like just, but you don't really use it. It's designed for hand tracking right from Jump Street. And I do very much believe in this future. And I do believe that if you were to target a low cost headset that is basically non-gamer, like your mom, does your mom really need a gaming VR headset, or would she be perfectly fine with the headset? You put it on your head, you instantly see a full color image of your room and everything, so you can see everything where it is. And you can go into VR, you see your hands are in there, your arms are in there, so it's got that one-to-one experience, and it's intuitive, and it's just very simple. Something that would be hard to screw up. That what we need is a VR headset that you can give to a 65-year-old lady, and she's not going to struggle dramatically to try to get through a different menu here or there and be able to do something in it. Not that that's the killer market right there. You got to sell to the 65-year-old demographic. But I think eventually we need to start getting rid of some of this friction. And yeah, I what do you think about that? Do you think we could have a $6 headset, low cost, no controllers, and they just basically say, look, this just isn't for gaming. Yeah, you can do Anne Frank and you can do War Remains, and it's still going to have a Snapdragon in it, and it's still going to have some capabilities, but you're not playing Lies Beneath on this. If you want, I mean, you're probably playing, you know what I mean? Like couldn't they go in that direction?
Yeah, from the perspective of use case, absolutely. Like my mom, if there was something where we could do the social VR things together, like, she can come into big screen with me, we can watch something, she can come into Altspace with me, and that kind of stuff. She's not playing Lies Beneath, she's not playing, Apex Construct, she's not going to be playing.
She is playing Echo
Phantom
VR
Covert
though.
Ops.
Every night she plays Echo VR.
But the only flaw I see with that idea is if it is sixed off and capable of, doing social apps and experiences. Well, I mean, it's going to be capable of doing games as well. So why not just make it one product?
Well, because then you're trying to shave the price somehow. So you're trying to shave the price in some sort of way. And the high end product is going to have the best Snapdragon you can fit in there for the best price. I think you could have one that, yeah, it can, like, look at the Go. Like the Go can play some games, but it's not playing like Quest games. And so it'll have some gaming capabilities. But one little interesting sidebar note is going back to like these Facebook avatars and like these different things that are happening, right, with the facial feature tracking and stuff that we're eventually going to get, like as we go a bit longer term into these headsets into the future. One thing I can see with like a really low cost headset that is not about gaming, but it is $6. It does have hand tracking right from Jump Street. And if it could somehow do this type of stuff, I could imagine people buying this. You know how we're having like the Zoom craze right now, and everybody has Zoom and they're doing all these Zoom rooms. Well, just imagine when we get to this level and you've got these animated cartoons that look damn near close to the real life people, and they're right next to you and they're sitting on your couch kind of, and they're moving around, and they're you know, their facial, I mean, their body language is coming through perfectly, their facial features are shining through perfectly. I can see, like, when they can get this kind of technology working on a low cost headset for applications like Facebook Horizon and you know, Rec Room and things like that. Holy smokes, man. I mean, there's going to be millions of people that would buy this, and they don't even care. Like, they don't care about going into Anne Frank's basement or playing Lies Beneath, but they're going to be doing like weird metaverse type stuff, right?
Yeah. I actually attended, there was a conference that was held virtually recently, and it was just a couple of days ago. I attended a talk at that conference um, by, well, I'm on a delay here, but I'm looking, and he's on your screen right now. That is Dr. Sheikh, I think his name is, and he is the director of Facebook Reality Labs in Pittsburgh. And he gave a talk about the photorealistic avatars just a couple of days ago at this conference. And it's kind of mind-blowing, the places that they're going with these avatars and the technology that they're using to implement them. You know, he talked about how the thing that blew me away the most was he talked about how when you make different expressions with your face, it, you know, it changes a little bit. Not just physically, but you know, like if you scrunch your face up, you might have, you know, blood kind of rushing or pooling to different places and things like that. And then, so when they're doing these avatars, not only are they tracking the structure, and then they just have one image that they wrap around it. And it's always the same texture that they wrap around it. No, they're also dynamically changing the texture that's wrapped around the structural mesh for the different expressions that you're making. It's like, wow, they are really taking everything into consideration. And you know, they were showing where they have the line that that sweeps back and forth between, you know, one and the other, real life and the avatar, and you could not tell the difference between the real life video and the photorealistic avatar that they had. It was you know, almost scary to think when you consider the privacy and the ethics and everything that could potentially happen. It was almost scary how realistic these avatars were.
Yeah, what I'm curious about though is, like, you know how at one point they show the quests that have a thing that's sticking down, you know? And it's like, are we all going to need Kylo Ren quests? But then there's another one where they have, like, they don't have those things sticking down, and they're doing it live. They're doing it in real time. So maybe that's just part of, like, building the machine learning algorithm. And then once they have that, they don't necessarily need to have that. But yeah, a lot of this is based on machine learning, and there are going to be, and Facebook is spending ridiculous sums of money. And then also on top of that, the situation that we're in with, like, Zoom being ridiculously popular and remote working being this, like, next level holy grail that is going to become even more desirable, right? That's an excuse to say we've got to pour millions into this research. We got to become number one in this category, because if we can deliver people a social experience, like if your grandmother lives in China and you want to have tea with her and you want to sit right there and it's like she's right there having tea with you, like, think of the kind of revolution this will be in just pure communication for anybody, anywhere, at any time. It could be a real game changer. We always thought, I remember way back in the days, there was this dream like when I was growing up, we had these phones, rotary dial phones. If you ever watch these old movies, right, it's like, these rotary dial phones, right? Just ancient technology. And back at that time, we used to dream of you're going to have a video phone, and there's going to be a screen right here and you're going to have a phone. It's like, oh my God. That never really happened. But I mean, now we got like FaceTime and stuff. So it kind of has happened, but like people don't seem to be that super into it. But I think the idea of like, boom, like holograms just bam, popping into your room, full body expression where you could be, I mean, I don't know how well it would work outside, but like imagine you're just sitting outside in your backyard. You're in like a lawn chair. You have your special AR goggles or whatever on. And it's like somebody's kicking it right there with you on their lawn chair. And it seems like they're absolutely right there, but they're really across the world, but it's just freaking perfect communication, interaction back and forth.
We were saying that teleportation might be a great superpower to have. And that kind of virtual presence is about half of the package. I mean, like, no, you can't just instantly teleport yourself to the Grand Canyon and be there and see it in person. But as far as meeting other people, two people on opposite sides of the world could hang out together with that kind of virtual presence. So it is going to be big, and I think it's going to be a compelling reason for more people to buy into maybe not VR, but at least AR.
And you'll probably have lots of different options because some people might be like, do I really want this future? Because think, how many times do you want to go on FaceTime or whatever if you haven't had your shower yet or whatever, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's like, nah, man, I'm not trying to go live on air right now. But in this type of thing, you could have like cartoonish versions of yourself, and it'll perfectly pick up your facial features. So it'll be like those really high-end cartoons where you can kind of tell who the voice actor is because it kind of looks like the voice actor with their cheekbone shape and their mouth shape. And they'll be able to do that with little cartoon characters if you don't necessarily want to give your actual image right then and there, but they could still do your body expressions, because so much of our communication is how we're slumped over, or if we're standing up straight, or if we're leaning to this side or that side. It tells so much. But anyway, I did want to cover a couple of extra little things here. Gaming Science Teacher, I'm not sure if you want to stick with me for all of this, but I was going to cover 3 little things that I've played recently. And why don't I start it off with Paper Beast? This is actually a really short demo, but there is a short demo that is available right now on Steam for the PC version of Paper Beast, which isn't available yet. This is coming sometime this summer. We don't know exactly when it's going to arrive, but I wanted to check this out because I played Paper Beast on PlayStation VR. I really loved it, actually. I mean, I have complaints about it. There's certain aspects of it where I wish it was even better, but like just from a purely atmospheric and just like take me to a completely different kind of a world sort of thing and give me some enjoyable interactivities and music and just all of it, right? I thought they did a freaking outstanding job, and I was actually really, really impressed with this. And the idea of coming to PC VR, that excites me as well, because one of the biggest downsides of the PSVR version is the graphics were kind of muddy and blurry, and they don't have that crystal clear sharpness. So I was excited to try the PCVR version. Tried it out, and I've got good and bad news. It looks freaking drop dead gorgeous in the Valve Index. That's the first good news right there, right? So these kind of scenes that you see in the game, it can be relatively breathtaking at times, but it can also be muddied and kind of blurry and unremarkable at times as well. And that is still there a little bit in the PC VR version. Like some of the scenes, I was looking at some of the stuff and I'm like, this is still kind of fuzzy and not quite as highly dialed in as I would like it to be. But the beautiful stuff and the scenic stuff is even more beautiful. It's even more fantastical. And the audio, well, on the Valve Index, like if you own a Valve Index and you've seen these Paper Beast trailers and stuff, and you're like, man, that's one game I kind of would like to check out if I had a PlayStation VR, but I don't. I got a Valve Index. Well, you're kind of in luck, because I mean, it depends on like how they price this and all of that, but like the audio is really atmospheric and very like it's a sense of space with the audio. You really feel there, and it's really quite gorgeous and breathtaking. Not ridiculously so though, so there will still be some graphic horrors disappointed in this. I wish the demo was a bit longer, because the demo is very short. But Gaming Science Teacher, you've seen this game, like you've seen the trailers and stuff. You're on an Oculus Quest. We haven't heard anything about this coming to the Oculus Quest. Is this something that might intrigue you a little bit if it did come to the Quest?
I'm not sure. It's not something that I look at and like, oh, I really hope they bring it to Quest. There are games that I could rattle off for you that I'm like, oh, I really hope they port that sometime. But this wouldn't be one of them. It's not on the top of my list. But I'm not disinterested in it either. Let me ask you, what's the gameplay like when you play this game? Like, what I understand that there's these kind of like almost origami creatures and they kind of morph, but what are you doing? What's the gameplay like in here?
Yeah, so basically what happens is it's a puzzle game. Essentially, it's a puzzle game. And so you're placed in an environment and you realize that you can't get somewhere because it's filled with water, or there's like some big thing that is blocking your pathway. It basically, you get into these environments and there's some kind of puzzle, that there's some kind of obstacle that you need to deal with, or you need to create a dam and block water, or you need to like release all the water, or you need to like create a bridge to somehow get up to this new area. There's puzzles, and you have to interact with these little creatures a lot of times to solve the puzzles. And sometimes you have to like grab them and move them over here and do that, do different things. It's not so much like if you're going to a game for like I need action, man, and I need to like really be, this is kind of more of a chill. You know what? It's very Mutual of Omaha as well. Like I mentioned that before. Like, do you remember those old like, it's probably before your time, but like there used to be these like TV shows where be the African Serengeti, and so you have like this livestock that's like moving around in this game, like these different creatures, and you have to kind of manipulate them and stuff. But sometimes it's cool just like seeing them interact with each other. Like different creatures do different things. Some of these creatures will they grab up a bunch of the ground and then like spit it out in a certain way, and you need to like move them over here so you can create this bridge. It's chill. It is a chill relaxation kind of a game. It's definitely atmospheric. It's definitely for people that like to smell the flowers and kind of just like, I don't know, a big part of VR for me is just going to a different place. And hearing the sounds of a different place, and like really feeling like, I'm somewhere, like this is like a fantastical dream world that you're in kind of, and it's trippy and chill. But yeah, it's not everybody's bag. Some people are going to play this for 10 minutes and be like, what the hell am I doing here? I'm bored to death.
No, that sounds interesting, and puzzle games are something that I enjoy. So if this ever came to the Quest, I might check it out.
I think they might be able to get it working on the Quest as well. You should probably, when you get a chance at some point, check out like somebody's little Let's Play, but like don't watch that much of it because you'll spoil it. But like just to see a couple of the puzzles, just to get an idea of what it's about. But it's actually really cool. And if you do have a Valve Index, it's incredibly short. It's like a 10-minute thing. Just download it, try it out, play it for 10 minutes, and you'll get a little bit of juice out of it. Now, speaking of the Oculus Quest, here's a game that is on the Oculus Quest. It originally started on PlayStation VR. The developer is the Binary Mill. These guys are making a lot of VR games. They've been pretty active in VR. And this was their original game. Like if you go back to the history of the Binary Mill, they started off making these overhead racer types of games, And when they started doing VR games like Gun Club and Rush and stuff like that, it was nothing like what they had originally started out with. And then this is Mini Motor Racing X, which came to PlayStation VR. This is the PlayStation VR trailer. This later came to the Oculus Quest. Now, would you believe I never played the PlayStation VR version, never played the Oculus Quest version. I noticed it coming to both platforms, and I like this sort of stuff because I love color. I love bright, visually stimulating BAM, and I haven't even tried this part of it, but I do like these kinds of games. I really liked Blaze Rush, which is on the original Oculus Rift, and I believe it's on Oculus Go. Why it is not on Oculus Quest is a true mystery, like a mofo, but Blaze Rush is pretty cool because like you'll have these games in VR where you're like playing the game and the game is like happening on a table, and it's like, you know, it's like little miniatures and you can see them right there, and those games can look really cool in VR. So why am I talking about this? I'm talking about it because I was bouncing around Steam, and this game just came out on Steam, the PC VR version, I believe on the 23rd of this month. So like last week it came out. Don't know if a lot of people knew about it or were aware about it or what, but I saw that it had a demo and I was like, you know what? I've never actually played this game. I want to check it out. Downloaded the demo, really like it, but I have some serious warnings, folks. If you have a problem with motion sickness, oh my goodness. Okay, now there are camera angles where you will have zero motion sickness. And there are camera angles where you will have a gang of motion sickness in this game. Like I almost got, like I had to quit out of it really quick when I was trying some of these camera angles. Okay, so the bottom line is, if you do one of the overhead bird's view, isometric view camera angles, you're pretty much fine. And there's different levels of zoom. You can go way out, like you're way up high, and you could start to get down a little bit lower, but just stick with those overhead views. I think that works. But they also have all kinds of first person views where you're in the car, you're just barely above the car, you know, you're off to the side or whatever. They got like 20 different views, camera angles in this game, just unlimited different camera angles, damn near. And the thing that's interesting about all these different camera angles is when you're in these dramatically different camera angles, you're almost in a different game entirely. Like it's when you're playing it overhead, like little matchbox racers that are zooming it around, that is a totally different kind of a gameplay experience than when you're in it first person and you're in the cockpit. So it's very different in that way. But like I've typically had pretty good VR sea legs. I don't typically get motion sick. When I tried the first person aspects of this game, I couldn't hang with it. I had to get out of it and it just was not happening. But the overhead worked fine for me. Now, there's different controls. There's like, you can have this like free floating steering wheel that they just put out there and you can do it like that. That didn't work out very well for me. There's one where it's like a remote control racer. So it's like you have this thing in your left hand and you have like a steering knob and you just kind of steer it a little bit. And so there's some various different controls that you can use. And I finally got used to it and got a feel for it. Now the demo that they have on Steam, it's one track. It's the one where it's like beautiful blue ocean, tropical. There's one track that they give you in the demo. And they give you like a couple of different cars that you can try on one track. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I'm not sure how much this is. I don't know if it's like $24.99. $19.99 or whatever, but I liked it. Controls are difficult, not easy, man. Like you are going to have to get acclimated to this, but if you were a fan of Blaze Rush, you would really like this. So Gaming Science Teacher, I know this is available on the Oculus Quest. What do you think about like racing games in general? Have you tried any of them? And what do you think about like the extreme overhead or like the isometric or like little holograms running around? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I have not tried this particular title, but as far as racing games, they're not my favorite type, but I can enjoy a racing game if I'm playing with friends. I mean, when I still lived at home with my parents, my sister and I, we would play some Mario Kart. She beat me every single time. I could never win against her. But it's fun to play against friends. And if I saw the little kind of VR community that we have playing a lot of Mini Motor Racing X, then I might pick it up and jump in and play with everyone. I think the racing game of choice lately has been Grip, which is not available on the Quest. But
Have you tried
that's
anything though that like have you like I don't know if there's any demos of it. Like is there a racing game that's on the Quest right now? I know there was a lot that were like on the way there.
yeah. So I had the Dash Dash World beta, and I'm not sure what happened with that. It was, I think they like concluded the beta. Now we're in this limbo period where we're waiting for an official release. Do you know what the status of that is on Dash Dash World?
No, but it's probably an Oculus thing. Like maybe they really want to have like an official like there's probably a lot of games that are like they're waiting on Oculus and Oculus is like curating things and some games
Hmm.
get through and so it's got to be tough for smaller devs out there that don't have like
Yeah.
an established franchise.
But I played a little bit of Dash Dash World and I thought that was fun. It was very Mario Kart like, and it is one of the games that not every time I went in, but there were times I went in that I felt a little bit uncomfortable. I was like, not, that didn't feel like I was gonna throw up quite, but I felt uncomfortable enough. I was like, I gotta stop, and play something else or just take a break. So I can appreciate the options for having a top-down view if you're just not able to um, feel completely comfortable in those first-person views. I think it's interesting that you have the option of just doing top-down and then you don't have to worry about getting sick. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I think as far as racing, that's going to be the big thing for me is who am I playing with? Who else has this game that I'm playing with? Because I also have Radial G Proteus on the Quest, and I went in it like twice maybe to check it out, play a few races, and it's really cool. I mean, I was
I
my
forgot
mind was
about that one.
blown.
Yeah, they have had a racing game for a while. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And this one has been on Quest. So they've got
Hmm.
like well the Dash Dash is a side quest thing, but yeah, I guess they got two official racers, right?
Um, but in Radial G Proteus, my mind was kind of blown at like turning, you know, all the way around these like pipes or wires that you're racing. I was like, wow, this is crazy. And it didn't make me sick. But it's only single player right now on the Quest, and I've heard rumors that they're planning on adding multiplayer for the Quest version, which will be great because I haven't felt a need to go back into it just to play more single player to race against bots. I'm going to be more interested in going back into Radial G when I can play against other people.
One good thing I need to say about this really quick. So I was trying this demo, right? And I would get it set so it's like, okay, I start the race and then it's like it's almost getting ready to start. And I was sitting in a chair. I got out of my chair, got down on the ground, like where I'm laying on the ground like a little kid, like a little kid that has like a little slot racer track, right? And they're like laying on the ground, holding the controls like inches away from the track. So like the little cars would just go zoom like that. I was doing that and it actually worked great. It was total room scale. Now the thing is, as soon as the race was over, like it would get discombobulated and it would screw up, and you couldn't sit down immediately. You'd have to like start the race where it thinks that you're sitting in a chair, and then before the race actually starts, then you climb out of your chair and you get like you could like sit right in between and have the track going around you like that. And there's something cool about that. And I could only imagine like my kids are straight grown now. Like they are grown men. So they don't care about this stuff anymore. But like if I had like a 9-year-old or something, I could only imagine having him put that on and being able to like lay out on the ground and get that close, and you have like little things that are zooming by and they're animated and it looks beautiful, and it looks like there's some things that VR can do that flat just can't do. You just can't do that. You just can't lay on the ground and be up in the world like that in such a weird kind of a way. I mean, it's kind of weird that I even mentioned that, but it was cool. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and... Yeah, the call ended with Gaming Science Teacher. So anyways, thank you, Gaming Science Teacher. Really appreciate you coming on the show. We did have some technical difficulties there, but you covered most of the good stories with me, so that was cool. And I'm sure that viewers of the show are going to go ahead and enjoy that. Okay, so let's see. There's one other game I did want to cover before I get out of here. So unfortunately, a lot of people probably would love to have my thoughts on Phantom Covert Ops or possibly Quinero 2. And those are two things I have not tried yet. I have not tried Phantom Covert Ops. I have not tried Quinero 2. Honestly, I just haven't had a lot of time for stuff, and I've only been able to play VR a little bit here and there. And there's some days where I just haven't played VR. And you know what? Tough titty, man. There's going to be some days where I'm just not going to play VR. I'm not Gamertag VR. I'm not Paradise Decay. And I just can't do that right now. I'm just working too many hours. I just can't do that. I've got other stuff going on. I can't be that guy. But there is one game that I did get an opportunity to play this week. And I've actually played this on a couple of different days. And I've tried this a couple of different times. I'm still incredibly early in this game. So, you know, I'm not that far into it. So this is really just first impressions. And I apologize, guys. I really wish I had a lot more time. Dude, I wish I could work full time, 10 hours every day, Monday through Sunday, 70 hours a week. I wish I could work 10 hours on VRGameRankings.com and also do some work on VR365 and just be a VR nut job all day, every day, and earn a decent living and be able to live in this world. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I've got to go to a cubicle farm and sit in a cubicle for 9.5 hours a day on a daily basis. I got to drive there. I got to drive back. And every other day I got to do my freaking workout, which takes an hour and 10 minutes. And yes, today is a workout day. So I got to do my workout today. And it's hanging over me like a dark cloud. I know that I have to do this workout today. I'm not looking forward to it, but I know I got to do it. And so it doesn't leave a lot of hours. So I just haven't been playing as much VR as I would really like to. But I did get to try this game a little bit. Now, this is the rig. And those of you that have been keeping track of VR game rankings and my various shows know that I have mentioned this game for years. And I have been interested in this game for years. And the reason why is because I think it might have been November of 2017. There was an episode of Projections on the Tested YouTube channel, which covered this game, The Rig, developed by Sunset Division. I believe they're located in San Francisco. And I believe the story is that it's basically like 4 dudes, don't quote me on this, but it's like 4 really good friends that are all like programmers and stuff. They've got day jobs, but they've been working on this game in their spare time. Now, it took a long time. In fact, some might say this would have fared so much better a couple of years ago. If this game came out in 2018, would have fared a lot better. Obviously, we've talked about the Asgard's effect. We've talked about Saints and Sinners. We've talked about Half-Life Alyx. We've talked about how the game has been raised. We're in a new world of VR, a new era of VR. And the bar has been raised across the board. And everybody has to step up to the plate. And even if you're an indie studio and you're a spunky indie studio, you are now releasing your game into a sea of competition and high-level competition. Big-time games that are hitting Steam on a regular basis. So this is pretty difficult for a developer like Sunset Division to come into the mix and have to deal with all of that, but also try to deliver a relatively cutting-edge kind of a game, sci-fi film noir. Main fan got on me on the pronunciation of noir, however the F you pronounce that, right? But basically, that's what they were going for here. And so I played this game and I have thoughts on it. I have both good opinions of it and I have bad opinions of it. But you know, one thing I absolutely do need to check. I need to check this. So hold on a quick second here. Let's see. I'm curious what the rig is selling for on Steam, because like, you're an indie developer. This has been blood, sweat, and tears. You've been working on the rig for like 4 years. Blood, sweat, and tears. And now the game is available. I'm not even, oh, here it is, the rig. Oh, $14.99, $12.74. Yeah, man. Okay. See, I was wondering, like, is this $24.99? Is it $29.99? You know, what is the rig? It is $15. Okay, so it's not that bad. So price is actually in a good spot. Okay, so I wasn't sure about that. And reviews are positive right now on Steam. It's got positive reviews. It came out on the 26th, just a couple of days ago. It is on sale right now for $12.74. That ends on July 2nd. Normal price is $15. And you know what? I'm a fan of this game, but it does have problems. And there are some critical problems with this game. I'll start off with the biggest individual problem that it has. Number one, the single biggest problem this game has, teleport only. Teleport only. To the best of my knowledge, this is teleport only. Now, I got to imagine that a lot of people are going to be hitting up this developer and saying, bro, can you guys please add some free loco to this game? Because it's teleport only, and it's kind of weird because the teleport like gives you this really huge arc where you're teleporting, but it only allows you to teleport like 5, 6, 7 feet. Like, you cannot teleport hella far. You can only teleport very short distances. Now, part of the reason why having teleport only is probably okay for this game in particular is you're basically in these very small environments. You're in these pretty small rooms. You're on a ship. It's a relatively small ship. Now, it'll have these different chambers, these different doors that you open up, and you'll go through the doors and you'll be in a slightly different area. But I'm not sure that you ever get into a situation where you're in this like big giant indoor warehouse where you need to like teleport hella far. So they probably figured we don't really need to have like long distance teleportation, and you don't really need free loco. Maybe you can just teleport short distances because you're in these smaller confined environments. But I still think, just purely from a quality of life sort of standpoint, those of us that we've moved on, you know, and when we encounter a game that is teleport only, it's like we're going back in time, and it's very difficult. It's a struggle for us to wrap our heads around a teleport only game in the year 2020. But I do believe that this developer will probably update this game in the not too distant future, add a mode that will allow you to freely move around the game. And I think it will improve the game a little bit. But basically what this game is all about, it's a detective game, okay? Think of it almost like Casablanca or something. You're like a detective, but it is set in this sci-fi future, and it's set aboard. You're like traveling through space. There's an entire storyline. There's an actual story to this game. There's a lot of voice acting. There's like little holograms that you activate, and then, you know, like that hologram there. There's really cool lighting built entirely for VR. There are actual little dialogue trees and everything. This game is actually really super cool in a lot of ways, but it also falls down in a lot of ways. And somebody out there that, you know, you played Half-Life Alyx, and then you played Saints and Sinners, you know, and then you're playing Lies Beneath, you know, and you're playing all these different games, and then you get a game like this, you might think this is kind of like, I don't know, this is a little bit amateur hour. So there's some people that might have that criticism because this is a small team, they're doing what they can do. But there's a lot of detail. There's a lot of depth in this game. Like, you'll get into a certain room and there will be different things that you can read. Like, you're picking up things There is like story that is like built into the game. You're going to do a lot of exploring. You're going to be taking your time. You're going to be exploring every nook and cranny. You're going to be solving some puzzles to get further along in the game. I think the lighting is very well done, especially on the Valve Index. This is a game that looks pretty beautiful in terms of like little the way the lights are shining and just the kind of atmosphere that you get in the game. It does have kind of a cool vibe. Now, the biggest criticism that I would label at this game, period, voiceover. I've got a problem with the voiceover. I'm sorry. I apologize, Sunset Division. I don't know who did the voice. Not a fan. Not a fan. So this is the story of two brothers. Basically, two brothers and a girlfriend. And I'm not sure exactly how the story is unraveling. I really need to drink water. I'm sorry if you guys think I'm doing weird stuff with my mouth. It's because I forgot to have a nice glass of water here that I could go to occasionally. And my mouth is dried out at this point. But basically, it's got this story about two brothers, kind of like a love triangle, kind of like one brother screwed the other brother over and he went to prison and he got out of prison. And it's just, it's one of these intertwined stories. The story isn't necessarily that bad, but god damn, bro, I think the voiceover really hurts this game. I just gotta be honest and say it. Now, the voiceover, like the main guy that's doing the voice, there's basically two brothers. There's Willard and then there's Dix. The guy that does Willard is the main voice in this game. And I just could never get around this guy's voice. It's going for like this film noir style, right? So he's supposed to have this kind of like detective, Detective Johnny Smith, like there's a certain style to the guy's voice that he's trying to do, but I just don't think it worked very well. And I hate to really pick apart this game just based on the effing voiceover. But I'm telling you, that's where this game stumbles the most. And it's hard for me to enjoy the rest of it with the voiceover. But it's still a quality puzzle game. There's some good stuff going on here. It's very VR. It's very 3D. You do look at things, like you can look at things and use your gaze to like select things and highlight things. And then like you look at something and then it and then it selects that thing, and then it'll have a voiceover sequence that'll come on. Very colorful, very beautiful environments, although very cartoony. But all in all, I mean, overall, I'm a fan of this game. Overall, I'm impressed with this game. And for the price, $15. Now, it's kind of bad timing, though, because think of all the games that are coming out right now, especially a game like this, The Rig, by an indie developer that's trying to get $15. Bad timing, bro. It's bad timing from the standpoint of you're coming right when there's a Steam sale. And so you have the greatest VR games that have ever existed over the last 4 years are like $8, $9, $12, $20, all these great VR games that are considered absolute classics, absolute epic VR games. You're a brand new game, you're trying to survive, you're trying to live, and you're trying to ask for $15. So it is difficult. But I still believe that this is pretty cool. It's very interesting. If you're really into story, if you're really into detail, if you're really into like looking in every nook and cranny of an environment, if you're really into kind of like, I wish I had kind of a detective kind of a game in VR, and if you can look past possibly undesirable voice acting that I don't know. I feel like I'm sure this is an indie developer, and I'm sure that they did not go out and hire a professional voice actor. I really don't think they did. And I don't know who did the voice. It might be one of the team members themselves. It's like, okay, I'm going to do the voice of Willard. Bro. I mean, I know you probably gave it your college try. and you probably tried hard. And there might be half of the people out there that play this game that's like, I didn't really think the voice is all that bad. It's a little stiff in certain parts, but I think you went a little bit overboard about the voice, Anthony. Nah, I think the voice, man. I think they should almost hire a new, update the game with a new entire set of voice. A new voice for the girlfriend as well. For the girlfriend as well, I think it needs a new voice. But hey, for $15, pretty freaking solid. But it's just the timing. The timing might not necessarily be the ideal kind of a timing to bring out a game like The Rig. With all these other heavy hitters and with all the sales and everything that are going on right now, it's, it's just a fierce market in the VR gaming world. If you had a certain window of time to get your game out where you would have a captive audience that would take a close, hard look at your game, whether your game really deserved it or not. There used to be an era in VR gaming where you could have had a tiny little game and you're going to get noticed. You're going to get attention. Streamers are going to play your game. Everybody's going to play your game. And if your game is even halfway decent, it's going to get some acclaim. That used to be a situation in VR gaming. I don't know that situation exists anymore. I think there's too many big games and there's too much of a back catalog that games are going to get lost in the cracks, and they're not going to get the same type of opportunity that games got earlier generations. But The Rig, A Star Map to Murder, I think is a solid game. It's an interesting game. I think the price is nice. And so I feel pretty good about it. I still haven't played it all the way. So that's kind of my thoughts on The Rig, A Star Map to Murder. Alrighty, well, that's basically going to go ahead and wrap it up for this particular show of VR365. I really didn't want to do a show today, to be completely honest with you. I was thinking of possibly canceling the show and not doing a show. What I really need to do is I need to work on VRGameRankings.com. I really need to work on the website. I really need to update all of the rankings on the website and just do so much work on the website. But goddamn, there's not a lot of hours in the day. And I still got to do my workout today. It is a dark cloud. It is in the sky. And until I do my workout, that dark cloud will not go away. I know main fan, anybody that has to do a workout every other day, you know exactly what I'm talking. No, some of you might really look forward to your workouts and really love them. And when it's 90% done, I really love it too, because it does give you energy and you feel better after you've done it. And you're like, okay, at least I did something today. But god damn, is it a dark cloud when you haven't done it yet. All right, well, that's basically going to wrap it up, folks. We got folks over here in Twitch that, Mr. Hussein X, what does your workout entail? It's just using a dumbbell. It's mostly exercises with 2 dumbbells. I've got this one right here and push-ups and stuff. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. It lasts for about an hour and 10 minutes. I just try to do it every other day, and it's just to do something. It's just something. It's mostly it's an upper body thing, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, got to do it. Alrighty, well, thanks for everybody that did join us over here in Twitch. Sorry I wasn't checking in on chat. I was trying to concentrate, of course, with Gaming Science Teacher and the different topics that we did cover today. Again, I really appreciate Gaming Science Teacher coming on a very short notice, hanging in there through technical difficulties, and helping me out with all the various stories that we covered. That was cool. It's been a long time. I wish we could have talked even longer and maybe talked about a lot of other different topics and stuff and just kind of kicked back, relaxed. I almost wish I had 2 different VR shows. One where it's you're really trying to hit topics and you're really trying to be on point. And then another one that's just kind of chill, bro. Let's just have a chill show where it's we don't have to be that entertaining and we can go off into weird ass tangents. That would be kind of cool. but don't think that's going to happen because, again, limited time. Alrighty, folks. Well, that's basically going to wrap it up for this particular episode of VR365 Live. I hopefully will be back on YouTube with a regular episode this Thursday. And then, of course, next week, remember, I don't know if I have a little logo of this one. Let me see if I do. A logo for... we've got a new Dark Frequencies episode that is going to be coming out next Sunday. Yeah, I believe it is 1 week. New episode. But yeah, basically a week from today, we are going to have a new episode of Dark Frequencies. It is episode 2, Simulation Theory, baby. Simulation Theory. It is going to be fascinating. Skiva is basically going to be the lead on this particular episode. But what we're going to do with Dark Frequencies, so it's myself, Skiva, and Roots are the 3 hosts. And basically, with each of the topics that we cover, one of us is going to kind of take the lead and be the orchestrator of that episode. And then the other 2 guys will kind of be helpers on that episode, and they'll chime in, but one guy kind of takes the lead. I kind of took the lead with the UFO episode, but with Simulation Theory, Skiva is going to take the lead. And when we get to the Mandela Effect episode, Roots is going to take the lead on that one. And we're going to continue to have episodes, and, you know, one of us will kind of take the lead, but everybody else will chip in on it. And so, yeah, looking forward to Dark Frequencies a week from today, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time for episode 2. So a week from today on Twitch, this show will be like a nighttime show. It'll be an evening show because I've got to wait till later in the day. So definitely wanted to update you guys on that. But yeah, I'll see everybody on Thursday over on YouTube. So we'll see you guys then. Everybody have a good one. Take it easy. Later. Okay, yeah, so right now what's going on is this, of course, is pre-show. What is up? This is VR365. It is Sunday. It is June 28th. And at the very last minute, I have Gaming Science Teacher in the building. Gaming Science Teacher, what is going on? How's your Sunday?
Hey, going pretty well so far. Got some big changes in my personal life, so I'm getting ready to sort those out, but looking forward to getting back into VR in the next couple of days. It's been a number of days since I've been in my quest, so.
Yeah, actually, that's a good little topic that we can get into here, like in pre-show, is because I'm in a very similar situation. Like, I didn't want to do a show on Thursday because I just wasn't ready to do a show on Thursday, and then I didn't really want to do a show today. And that was part of the reason why I reached out and tried to get a guest to like kind of like somebody I can lean on. So it's like, you know, it takes a lot of the pressure off as a host. If you have a guest that you can always throw it over to them for a minute and, you know, it relieves a little bit of that pressure. But I wasn't looking forward to doing an episode because I haven't been playing a lot of games either. And it's weird because you feel like you're part of this community, right? And there's things that are happening every day. And there's so many other people in the community that are reading every news story. They're watching every video. They're playing every game. And you feel like you're completely out of the loop, right?
Yeah. And I usually keep up on most of the news, especially if it has anything to do with Quest. You know, because it's a lot quicker and easier just to scroll through Twitter, see things, to take a look over on Reddit. But actually playing games, you know, all of the friction that comes with playing a VR game, and I'm like you, I take my time and smell the roses when I play a game. So even if I do play, I move slowly through them. So it's been a hot minute since I've actually played and had my headset on.
You know what's weird too is I was always the guy that said, why are you playing VR sitting down? That is the wrong way to play VR. You know, you got to be standing up. Your boots have to be on the ground. Your sword is in your hand. Your shield's in your hand. you're in that world, you know, stand up and be a part of the action. And I got to admit, because I've been working a lot of like pretty long days, working overtime, and then like a commute to the place and a commute back, and it's just, time is precious, right? And there's just not a lot of time. And then also, like, when you're doing that all day, you're kind of lazy. Like, sometimes you get home and you just like want to veg, you know, maybe just watch some TV and just kind of be lazy, look at some internet stories. And there's something about putting all the stuff on where it's like, oh, do I really want to do that? It's it's pure laziness. I'm not going to lie. It's 100% laziness.
No, absolutely. I know what you mean. And I've been working from home recently since March, but before that, especially, I mean, any weekday you come home from work and like just by the time you get home and you put your things down and, you know, any little household chores you got to take care of and then get something to eat and you're like, I'm ready to just go to bed or, you know, just want to watch, you know, watch something on YouTube. So definitely feel you there.
Yeah, I've always said, like, if there was any superpower I could possibly have, like, most people would want to be invisible, or they'd want to be able to fly, or I don't know, superhuman strength or something. But for me, it would be just to like pause, and you know, I could just pause time, and I could have unlimited time to do whatever the F I wanted to while this reality is just on a temporary pause. Like, that would be my superpower of choice.
Yeah, I waver between being able to teleport, instantly teleport anywhere, or freeze time. Because, I mean, if you could teleport, that saves you all the time that you would normally take to go somewhere. But yeah, one of those two. I feel you.
Yeah, teleport would be freaking pretty badass. Especially, like, you could just teleport into countries illegally. You know, you just, bam, you just appear there. And you think about it, you could teleport to the Super Bowl at the 50-yard line. They'll be like, what's that dude doing there? No, it'd be crazy. But, okay, I should probably do an actual intro, and we could actually get into the show today. And, you know, I have a few news topics, and Gaming Science Teacher has not really been briefed on these topics. Before we start the show, I'll just kind of give you a quick little insight into what I think we could talk about today. So, I mean, the biggest topics that I've seen recently has been like, and I apologize, our window, we're having a little bit of some Skype problem with the like size of her window bouncing around, but let's just ignore that. We'll worry about that later. But let's see, what was I going to say? Oh, in terms of like some stories that are going on out there. See, I didn't do a show on Thursday, so there's all this information from the last time I did a show. There's a lot of things that have happened. Like, Oculus has basically said, we're not doing 3DOF headsets anymore. The Oculus Go is dead. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk, of course, about the acquisition of Ready at Dawn. What exactly does that mean? Or is it a total no-brainer and it's kind of almost a non-story, or all of those things? Beat Saber is leaving VR arcades. What is the deal with that? And maybe more importantly than even that is actually like, what is the deal with Oculus and anyone using their software in any way, shape, or form commercially? Because that has still been weird, and I think that's part of the Beat Saber thing. Also, I can mention briefly that I've played, there's 3 different games that I've tried, and I would like to talk about all 3 of those, and that is The Rig, which is now available on PC VR, which I actually don't know how much it is. I haven't even looked at the Steam page. I don't know how much they're charging for The Rig. So someone in chat, go ahead and look up The Rig for PC VR. I am curious about the price of that. I have played that, and I have some thoughts about that. Paper Beast, which is coming to PC VR. I've played the demo of that. I have some thoughts about Paper Beast. And I played the demo for Mini Motor Racing X, which is available now on PC VR. So we've got a number of different things to get into. But basically what I want to do now is I'm going to throw up a trailer on the screen here and do just a little intro. And the trailer that I'm about to throw on the screen, Gaming Science Teacher, this is Alex's sci-fi world. And I think you've seen this before. It's very beautiful. It's colorful. It's like an artistic thing that was done like in Quill or something like that. And I believe I believe that you mentioned that there's a way to view this on an Oculus Quest now. So maybe you can talk about that right after I do the intro. But yeah, let me go ahead and I'll go ahead and do an intro for us real quick. Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3.